Today, we're welcoming back Samuel Chong, California lawyer, certified court interpreter, and international speaker whose work bridges law, spirituality, and some of the biggest unanswered questions about humanity's past and future. Samuel is best known for helping bring the Thiaoouba Prophecy to a global audience through his translation and advocacy, and for thoughtfully engaging questions about extraterrestrial contact, ancient civilizations, and how these ideas intersect with faith and human consciousness. Samuel, welcome back. It's great to have you back on with us again.
Oh, thanks for having me here again.
It's great to have you, Samuel. Thank you.
We just finished an interview with Stephen Bassett, specifically about disclosure taking place, or the opportunity for it to take place and when that might actually be. For you, Samuel, what does that actually mean of disclosure? What would that look like to you?
It looks to me to be a global awareness of that we are not alone in the universe, that there are extraterrestrial beings other than people on Earth, and not just one species, but many, many species in the universe. Is a global awareness of that there are different kinds of ETs, and that it's not just from the government, but from the citizens in the world, the people, the mass, realizing that we need to really elevate our spiritual advancement or spirituality, and really to focus on the spiritual element of our lives, because the ETs have been really watching over us over time and also sending us messages through the events that occurred in our past, as documented in the ancient scriptures.
Well, then, Samuel, to that point, why does this topic feel more mainstream today than it ever has before? I mean, Roswell was 1947. Some of the ancient texts that we can go back and look at, whether it be the Sumerian or we can go back into almost every culture, and there's pictographs, there's hieroglyphics, there's all kinds of symbolism. So why now? Why do you feel that it's become mainstream? Steven Spielberg's new film coming out in June, Disclosure Day. I mean, it don't get no more mainstream than that. So why do you think this is the case?
It is because the ETs are thinking that if we don't make the right change, then we are heading towards a catastrophe. The ETs, the watchers, they see us advancing technologically, but without the spiritual advancement. If that's the case, then we're going to destroy ourselves. They're making themselves known to the government officials, but also to the people, to the mass. I think it's the ETs who are at work, making themselves more prominent in different ways, so that we will be able to realize that we are not alone, and they are the watchers and guiding us throughout history, especially nowadays as well.
Wow. Okay, so your take on it is it's more so being I don't know if you would say controlled, but kind of orchestrated. I guess it's kind of the same word as controlled by the ETs themselves.
Yes, because they're not staying behind the scenes anymore. They're not staying in the background. They want to show themselves that they have been watching over us, and that we need to gradually become aware of their existence, that they have been helping us over time. Actually, the Bible is a perfect example. I mean, we should follow the teachings of Christ. Who is Christ? So that's the question.
So
wow.
Sorry, Pastor, just to add to that. So, but why now though? What's the timing behind that?
I mean, if you look at the technological development over the past few decades, we invented the atomic bomb, and we invented a lot of different things, and especially in recent years, AI. As you see that a lot of people are really into AI, relying on AI, and not really realizing that we human beings are special. We have the spiritual element. We have the spirit. AI is just a machine with the neurolinguistic language model to really come up with some of the answers, and they may not be beneficial after all. In certain areas, we should really look inside and really be more spiritual beings, like spiritual beings, not like a machine. So this is, I see that AI is leading us into a direction which may not necessarily be beneficial for ourselves.
So with the AI explosion, and like you said, it changed the entire world, communication to the whole world, and information. And then when you test AI, which I do, I find it sometimes it doesn't tell the truth. Sometimes it'll quote things out of my book. It says, Pastor Paul says this in his book, Revelation 9:11. And I'm sitting there thinking, no, I didn't. It's nowhere in that book. Okay. So it does some stuff. And I catch it with the Bible doing the same. But it's also an extremely powerful tool to gather info so quick and even arrange it for presentations, whether if you're a lawyer for a brief, or if you're a doctor for a surgery, or if you're a motivational speaker. Incredibly amazing how fast things, if you're an engineer, it's all there. So let me ask you, I think Paul just brought up, why now? Do you believe that the disclosure is being managed or being staged in phases? So you're saying the ETs, which you call the watchers, which is a biblical term, or I guess as a pastor, I would say the angels, whether good or bad, good angels and bad angels, the fallen angels, or the ones that are helping us, that it's now they are part of the disclosure. Are you saying that they're the ones that are forcing the human race to acknowledge their existence?
Exactly. And they're taking the approach of the bottom-up approach. They are making us, the people, becoming more aware of their existence. At the same time, the government has its own agenda and posing the ETs as a threat. And actually, there are many, many directions where things are going right now. But I think the right approach is the bottom-up approach, because that can make a revolution last much longer. Because if you look at the history, all the revolutions, successful ones and long-lasting ones, all started at the bottom, the mass, the people.
So let me do one follow-up, Paul, real quick. And that is, I think I understand that you said that the government's the ones that are trying to portray it, that they are evil or dangerous. That's interesting, because we just got done interviewing Stephen Bassett, and his thing was that government has been holding us back and not revealing what they already know. And that the moment a president does, it changes the entire paradigm. And in his opinion, it's we need to know what it is, whether it's good, bad, or whatever, wherever it fits. I think you're saying no. The government is trying to control the release of this, and is trying to shape the narrative. And I was just talking to Heidi a minute ago, and she said, Paul, it comes down to, what's the narrative? Is it the biblical narrative, or are we going to go with a total different ancient alien narrative, or are we going to go with some other ETs from another galaxy narrative? Which narrative? When someone says we're not alone, okay, who are they? I mean, we're still back to that. Am I right by saying that, Samuel, or no?
I mean, the government can pose it as a threat, a bit mostly due to the efforts made by the military-industrial complex, because they need more military funding.
That's true.
So if we have a threat, an enemy, potential enemy, then they're going to get more money. But in reality, if you really think about it, if the ETs really wanted to invade us or get us into trouble, they would have done that long time ago.
Right.
So people need to have this kind of understanding and realization that the ETs are actually not the ones going to cause any harm to us. If they wanted to do so, they would have done that long time ago.
Very good point.
Wow. So, all right. So I think this kind of takes me back to when we interviewed Luis Elizondo, and was trying to figure out the actual, I guess, I can't think of the word right now. He described them as malevolent or benevolent beings.
Yeah.
So what would you say to that?
Well, I would say that benevolent benevolent beings. There's a very interesting story. Most people, I don't know if are going to buy it or not, but when we landed on the moon, we are worn down from the moon. So because we were not ready to explore the solar galaxy or the universe yet, because we were not spiritually advanced enough, they might think that we would pollute the universe or cause harm to other civilizations. Because a few decades ago, we were at war with the former Soviet Union. Like, so we were not ready, and we are not ready yet either. So if they prevented us from exploring the moon or landing or going back to the moon again, they would have done the same thing to other uh, ETs who are not necessarily ready to explore the universe. So they would do it both ways. We were not ready. They prevented us from landing on the moon again. And they would also prevent other ETs who are not ready to come to us. So I would think that the ETs that can come and visit us, they must be the ones who are spiritually advanced enough to not cause any harm to us.
Wow, that's so. On this point, so how would the modern disclosure claims compare to ancient texts and traditions? Is there a connection, or is there just two different ways of looking at it? Ancient texts and traditions compared to today's modern claims.
Well, we do have a lot of claims that are in synchronicity with each other. For example, if you read the ancient scriptures, the Bible, and also some of the ancient texts in India and China, you're going to see the same thing happening again. Chariots of fire, and also people from outer space coming into contact with us, is actually documented in a lot of not just the texts that we are familiar with, but also traditional Native American stories, and also Aboriginals of Australia. So we have had a lot of contact in the past, and also I do see that we may have other things happening in the future as well. There's a rule is that like when we were ready spiritually, then we would be ready to actually communicate in a more direct fashion with the ETs, the watchers, and but when we are not ready, then they stay behind the scenes or stay in the background. So I think this is what we are at right now. They're actually giving us a nudge, nudging us to really look into the spiritual side of our lives.
Interesting. So, okay. So, going with that, Samuel. So, some people that have accounts or interactions, for instance, the Thiaoouba Prophecy and Michel Demarque, with extraterrestrials or angels or advanced beings. Are you saying that their experience is because that person was personally ready spiritually to have that sort of interaction?
Well, he was just a messenger, and he was ready spiritually in certain sense, but he was mainly just a messenger, just like Enoch, just like some of the other figures in the Bible, and also some of the other uh, in other stories in different cultures. And I think the message is not just for the Hebrews, not just for the some of the field, but this message is actually for the mass, for all the people in the world. So I think if you look at the Bible, the original Old Testament was just for the Hebrews, and then it expanded to the Gentiles, non-Hebrews. So I think it's going to be a global movement, a global realization that we should be following the teachings of Christ.
You know, it's amazing you come back to that in a very positive way, and that is, the Torah, the Old Testament was written by the Hebrews and by the Jewish people themselves, as God revealed it to Moses and to the other prophets. And we get into the New Testament with Christ, the Son of God, who then teaches us a better way or a more complete way. He didn't come to do away with that, the law and all that. He just said, look, let's just advance in a more positive way toward one another. But the Bible doesn't address Hinduism, Buddhism, many of the other ancient traditions and philosophies and religions. And so your point is there has to be a bridge somewhere. So, there has to be a way to say, look, the gospel of Christ needs to be shared with everybody. It's not limited to just certain groups of people. It's for everybody. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yes, it is. And also, we need to really follow the teachings of Christ,
Yeah.
and what really Christ taught us, not just the narratives of the Catholic Church. And also, there are a lot of
Mhm.
knowledge that need to be shared,
Right.
need to be learned by the people. For example, if you read the Old Testament of the Bible, people may wonder, why did the God or Jehovah why did they choose the Jewish people, the Hebrews? Why not the Chinese? Why not the Indians? Why not the Native Americans? So if you look at the Jewish people nowadays, you're going to see that they excel in all the different fields they go into: the entertainment field, the business world, and finance, and things like that. If you look at Nobel Prize winners, 22% all the Nobel Prize winners are Jewish, even though they only account for about 0.2% of world population.
Right. Right.
If you also look at the longevity of the Jewish people in the U.S., you're going to see that the Ashkenazi Jews in the U.S., they live 5 years longer than the Caucasian population in the States, in the U.S.
Yep.
So this is statistically significant. And that may explain why the Hebrews were the chosen people. And also there are other, if you read the book Thiaoouba Prophecy, you're going to see other facts and other explanations on this issue. And I think it's very important for people to get a full picture, understanding of this, and also have more knowledge of the paranormal events that occurred on Earth in the history.
Well, and so you mentioned the Thiaoouba Prophecy, and again, if you guys want to listen to, we go in a lot more in depth on Thiaoouba Prophecy with Samuel in our first interview. But you refer back to in that interview as well, and you already have a couple times here today about we need to understand and listen to the teachings of Christ. So Thiaoouba Prophecy, what you had told us before, you had read the Bible, you read Thiaoouba Prophecy, and then that led you back to reading the Bible again. Can you share with the audience, for people that haven't read the Thiaoouba Prophecy, what's actually in there that feels especially relevant right now for the age of disclosure that we're in?
Well, if you read the Bible, you're going to see that there are three beings that were in contact with Abraham. And then Thiaoouba Prophecy explains what really happened and who really parted the sea for Moses during Exodus, who gave the Hebrews manna to eat when they were wandering in the desert, and who was Jesus, who was Christ, and also why we should really follow the teachings of Christ, which is about love and spiritual development, and why we need to be spiritual, because we are all creations of the Creator, which is a pure spirit, which doesn't have a face. It is a pure spirit which created everything in the universe, the planets, the stars, and animals, plants, and human beings, as well as extraterrestrials who live on different planets. And one of the most important sentences in the Bible is the kingdom of God is within you, in the book of Luke. And the book, Thiaoouba Prophecy, explains why we should look inside for answers, because we are connected to the Creator. We can be communicated with the Creator directly, and there's no need to go through an intermediary agency or the media or the government or the pastor, the priests, and or the church for like. So we can just pray and follow the teachings of Christ to live a very good life, to evolve as a spiritual being, having a physical experience. So this is the essence that people should become aware of. And I do see that a lot of pastors are doing great jobs in encouraging people to love one another and to follow the teachings of Christ. But there are also other things that people need to become aware of. For example, what happened in our ancient past. Are there any ancient civilizations that existed on Earth that contributed to the construction of the Great Pyramid in Egypt? What about the statues on Easter Island? And also, what are ghosts? And also everything is about knowledge. We need to have the knowledge to empower ourselves so that we can make the right choices in the future.
Wow, I love the fact you brought up those statues in Easter Island. I mean, I'm just still blown away by that. I just can't understand how they made them, how they got there, why they did it, how big they are, because you only see their heads. I mean, they have full bodies that are buried. Who in the world were they? Who was that civilization? I mean, these are questions that a lot of people ask that we don't know, and maybe in the Thiaoouba Prophecy, I know you address some things that are outside of the biblical text or some of the ancient texts, that's why folks should be very interesting for you to read it. But also, let me ask you, how does the Thiaoouba Prophecy frame extraterrestrials compared to how Hollywood is portraying it, or even the United States government? So what's the difference? What is Steven Spielberg going to show us that is different than maybe what the Thiaoouba Prophecy revealed to us?
Well, I think in the entertainment industry, they want excitement or thrillers that are going to sell the movie tickets, get very good
That's true.
box office sales. So they're going to dramatize everything that happened in the past or may happen in the future. But in reality, things are not necessarily that way. We may have some excitement or exciting events, such as for example, the flood during Noah's time, and also the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. We may have certain events or certain wars that caused by not by the ETs, but caused by us. But we should be able to distinguish what's really entertainment and what's really facts or history or events that happened in the past. I think Hollywood may cause people to become more aware of the existence of ETs as a potential threat. However, they may not necessarily portray what really happened in the past or may happen in the future.
I think that's a really good answer, actually, because Hollywood is very much a shock and awe kind of factor, which they would usually portray ETs as
a threat,
as a threat or something to take over. Just sticking with the Thiaoouba Prophecy, Samuel, why do you think that this book right now resonates so strongly during the disclosure conversations?
I think it connects all the dots that people have been researching and searching for answers. It connects the ancient civilizations, connects the paranormal, such as ghosts, and the Bermuda Triangle, the vanishing or disappearance of the ships and planes and people in national parks in the U.S. as well. And it connects also politics too. It criticizes the two-party system, two-party system in the U.S. and the U.K. or some other governments. At the same time, it also says that dictatorship is not a good way to run the government. And also, it has very, very good information on what really are the dangers facing us modern society nowadays. As I mentioned last time, is number one is money, number two politicians, number three journalists and drugs, number four religions. So it really kind of nails to the point and really makes people think whether we need to do something. And it also provides a solution, which is nonviolent resistance against the tyrannies in the world, because it's going to cause an inertia to be formed. And if you look at history, people who advocated nonviolent resistance, like Dr. Martin Luther King and Gandhi, they all kind of led us to the right way. But unfortunately, they did not. Their lives ended before they were able to cause sufficient enough inertia to make global change. And the ETs from Thiaoouba Prophecy are actually encouraging us to follow the footsteps of Gandhi and Dr. Martin Luther King to really form a global movement using nonviolent resistance. And they, I think they want to say they make example of what happened on a different planet in which a government transformed itself from dictatorship into a democratic government, and is hinting that we can do the same thing here, not only in the U.S. but also on a global scale.
Can I throw in a question since you brought up these Bermuda Triangle and these other questions? Flight MH370, the Malaysian plane that just disappeared out in the South Pacific. What do you think happened? I mean, where did this plane go? And it is a mystery. We can't find it. We don't even know. How come the transponder were turned off and you have to do those manually, or were they done manually? Was this plane hijacked from internally? Was it stolen and landed in some other island on a secret runway that it was taken over by some government? I mean, there were 17 guys on there that were inventors of certain microchips from Taiwan. They were out of Austin, Texas, that are named on patents. But what's your thoughts? Do you have any ideas of what may have happened there?
There are a lot of secret weapons that the government has that are not known to the public. And I do want to say that there are a lot of ways in which the government or the military can make a plane disappear. And I do say that it may be that caused the MH370 vanishing from the radar system. That said, there are also natural naturally caused kind of warps in space that may suck in as planes or ships into a parallel universe. But that's a different story.
I mean, sort of like a black hole, but not really a black hole itself, but some other way to accidentally go through a portal into a different dimension.
That's right. That's right. And this is why when you read a book written by David Paulides, the Missing 411 series of books, he's a private investigator, and he documented a lot of these strange cases in which people just vanish out of thin air, and just have very strange circumstances when they send the rescue dogs to follow the scent of the missing people. The dogs frequently cannot stop at somewhere and then cannot move on because there's no scent anymore, because they were actually sucked into the warp, the parallel universe. And there are also well documented stories in the past by mainstream media in which certain people just gone vanish. On a very snowy day.
Wow. Yeah, that was kind of the image I was getting in my head too. It's like, well, I mean, if there is no explanation, I mean, there could be, I don't know, maybe the plane was just zapped out of nowhere. I have no idea. I can't explain it myself. Samuel, we're kind of shifting gears a little bit here. Why do you think people struggle to reconcile their faith with the idea of extraterrestrials? Meaning, like, is it just a terminology, a language thing? Do people kind of separate, let's just say Christianity only? Do people try to separate the stories of the books of the Bible and the language of knowing what extraterrestrials are or how they've been portrayed? What is the separation there? And because I know if Christians read the Thiaoouba Prophecy, at first, if you're thinking about it traditionally, you don't usually intermingle the two things. That you've kind of been taught extraterrestrials are this quote unquote mythical thing out there, and they don't really fit into the Bible. What would you say to that?
I would say I have an open mind, because there are a lot of things that are not explained in the Bible or by the Bible, and about the pyramid, the statues on Easter Island, and also some of the recent scientific findings. So there are a lot of things not being explained in the Bible. There are also a lot of things that are kind of institutionalized by the Catholic Church Council meetings, because in the past, people did not read, and only certain people were able to really read and compile everything from the ancient scriptures. So as days go on, we need to reconcile facts, evidence into what we were given. For example, about 400 years ago, a lot of people, religious people, did not believe that the Earth was not the center of the universe. so
Yeah.
so now we know that we revolve around the sun, and so
Right.
there are things going to happen like that. So we
Right.
need to have an open mind and to really have more independent thinking. Look at facts, look at evidence, and then to use some of the things we learned to really evaluate what we learned in the past to really make our own determination or judgment.
And staying with that vein of thinking for a minute, is it possible that the ETs are angels, good and bad? Is it possible that we're misunderstanding them or misinterpreting them? That they're actually, some are good, they interact with us. Some are bad, they interact with us. We're stuck here on Earth. We got to choose, good and evil. Which one you got? Christ taught us that. I set good and evil before you. Choose this day, who you're going to serve. Make a decision. So, what is your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the ETs who are watchers or who have been guiding us are the ones who have been helping us and beneficial to us in the past and also in the future. There are also ETs who are not necessarily beneficial to us. They're just come and serve as observers. They don't intervene or be involved in our affairs. So they just observe and really just stay on the side. Uh, but there are also like confused spirits that are not ETs. Those are just spirits that are confused or they don't know where to go. And sometimes we need the exorcist to get them out. There are a lot of things like that. And I do say that uh, the ones from Thiaoouba and also the ones as documented in the Bible, the three beings who were in contact with Abraham and the ones who parted the sea for Moses, those were the ones that we should follow. We should really learn what they want to teach us. And actually, I think by saying that, I say we should follow really what Jesus taught us. To love one another and to not to do the things we don't want others to do unto us. And so, because everything, we are all created by the same God, the same creator, we are all one. And there's no need to start wars and to fight against each other. And also, the materialism is actually one of the most dangerous thing on earth, because if we focus on materialistic aspects of our lives, we are not going to advance our spirituality. So in the Bible, it says something like it's more challenging and difficult for a rich person to to go into heaven. And I say that because it's true. Because we when we pass, when we die, everything will be shown to us. We are going to evaluate how we did in our lifetime. And the most important thing from people who have had near-death experiences is how we treated each other, the family members and also friends and also other people. We should treat each other nicely and not to really cause any harm.
Wow.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah, that's a very good explanation again. Samuel, how does your understanding of Christ and the teachings of Christ and biblical text, how does that fit into the broader cosmic framework or hierarchy?
Well, in the sense is that we are just like school students. Some are first graders, some are second graders, some are junior high school students, some are college students. So we elevate our souls, our spirituality, based on our understanding of the truth or the facts. And there are people who just are learning the basics, just like us. And there are people who are high school students who are more advanced for us than us. There are also beings who are just like professors. And I think Moses, Jesus are the college professors that we should learn from. And the great ETs are our peers, like elementary school students. Even though they have advanced technologies on spiritual advancement level, they're not necessarily more advanced than us. So we should learn from the masters, from the spiritual masters. And the ETs from Thiaoouba, for example, are one of the spiritual masters we should learn from. And also Christ is actually one of them. If you read the book Thiaoouba Prophecy, there are a lot of things that people will realize after gaining more knowledge.
So can people believe in God and believe in ET life coexist without contradiction? I mean, can people do
Of
that?
course. Yes, of course. Because God is a pure spirit, is a creator of everything. It also created ETs, extraterrestrials on different planets. And also there are ET beings who come and visit us, and they all are created by the same God. So there's no contradiction at all. I
Doesn't
would say
matter.
that
So in other words, we don't limit God to just creating just one earth with people on it. If God created all things, why in the world would he create such massive and unbelievable universes and galaxies and stuff without maybe putting some more creatures that he created on different planets circling different stars? Why limit God? That's what you're saying? And do you think we'll ever be that maybe we're going to be the ones that go to other galaxies, or are we just always going to be the guys that have to get visited? I mean,
well, yes, I agree with what you said. And also, yes, we are going to go to different galaxies when we're ready, spiritually and technologically. In fact, we all came from different planets, different kinds of planets originally. The yellows are blacks, the ancestors of the Polynesians and the Caucasians, and
all the
also
different races of people. So you're saying that each of the different races of people on the Earth actually are because they've been placed here from other galaxies. Human
yes,
beings, we're all human, but maybe genetically a little different features, a little different color, skin, hair, eyes, whatever. But you're saying that the different races of people were put here by God, who created everything, and just planted us here.
we were not put here. We came here voluntarily.
Oh, we came here.
Okay.
Whoa.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that in the Theo?
So the reason is that I need to explain a little bit further. The reason is that any planet in the universe has its longevity. Is actually confirmed by astronomers and geologists and physicists. Like when a planet cools down, the core of the planet cools down, it will no longer have the movement that causes the formation of the magnetic shield that captures the atmosphere. And when that happens, the planet will become like a desert, like Mars now. So when that happens, or before that happens, the people on the planet will have to migrate to a younger, more useful planet in order to survive, because you cannot survive in a desert. So this is why we all have to migrate from planet to planet when we are ready, or before a planet cools down. So this is a very interesting fact that a lot of people overlook.
Wow. Wow. All right. I'm gonna have to look into that a little bit more, Samuel.
Yeah. So I can elaborate a little bit further. So if you look into that, you're going to see that Mars used to have people or beings who lived there about 1.35 million years ago. So there were people on Mars, but no longer. And there are also ET bases on the far side of the moon, because when certain ETs or beings, they migrate to Earth, they use the far side of the moon as a to build their bases, to transfer their people step by step as transfer stations. So this is why you always hear people say, "Oh, there's something artificial structures on the far side of the moon."
Yeah.
Yes, there are, and the book Thiaoouba Prophecy confirms it and explains when and what beings and why they built the bases on the far side of the moon, and also explains a lot of things like the patterns of the universe, like 9 8 or 9 planets revolve a star like the sun, and 9 stars revolve around a bigger star, and 9 bigger stars revolve around like an even bigger star until the center of the universe. So this is a pattern that yet to be uncovered or proved or proven by astronomers. And I think this is something that people, if they're interested, can look into that. Additionally, the book Thiaoouba Prophecy also explains what happened to a lot of the biblical events, and in a very logical and interesting fashion. And as a Chinese person, I'm able to read the ancient records of China, the astronomical records of China, and I can prove some of the things as documented in the Bible and also the book Thiaoouba Prophecy, pinpoint the exact date of the birth of Jesus, the crucifixion of Christ, and resurrection of Christ.
Wow. So whoa. So you're saying because you can read Chinese in their ancient texts and in the Bible, they confirm the birth and the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ.
Yes, because they documented the movements of the stars in the sky, and then there are also documents of eclipse during the resurrection or crucifixion of Christ.
Wow. I got to ask another question, Paul, real fast.
Yeah.
This interstellar object had just come flying through Atlas 3I. We heard a lot of conversation about it because of the Harvard professor, which we've interviewed, and I think he's going to be in this webinar, Avi Loeb from Harvard. I've interviewed him 5 or 6 times already, but he's the one that told the world this Atlas, this thing that went by, could have been a spaceship, the mothership. What's your thoughts on that? Is he out of bounds here, or is there some possibility? He said it changed direction. It was anti-gravitational acceleration. It went faster than anything that's ever came through here. It was huge, the size of Manhattan. What's your thoughts?
I agree with him. This is like an anomaly, and there has to be some kind of a spacecraft. And I really respect Avi Loeb because a lot of his research findings kind of are consistent in what the book Thiaoouba Prophecy says. For example, he also says that the moon is going to crash onto Earth in the distant future, in which Thiaoouba Prophecy also says the moon will crash onto us.
Yeah, and funny about that, Paul, is Avi Loeb does say that, and so does Mike from around the world. And I keep thinking, well, why? Why would the moon all of a sudden crash into us? Is there something going to happen? A shift in the heavens? I mean, is there going to be a shake? And Jesus says that the heavens are going to shake. Okay, is that what Jesus is saying there? That basically this is going to happen?
Well, this is a natural phenomena that's going to happen in the future. And then this is why we need to be ready spiritually and technologically to migrate to a different planet. Because when the moon crashes onto Earth, we are all going to die.
That's it.
But it's okay. But it's okay if we die. If we're ready, we're going to go to heaven or go to a very good place.
Right.
Wow.
Amen. Amen to that. Amen.
Well, I just learned something about the moon.
And I'm also learning a lot about the Thiaoouba prophecy here. That it's covered a lot more broader spectrum of things than what I realized.
Right. So Samuel, the interview that we just had with Stephen Bassett, essentially, not the whole. I mean, there's tons in there, but kind of what it boils down to is the way that Disclosure Day, like the Steven Spielberg film that's going to come out, is going to look is a head of state, and more than likely, probably the president of the United States is going to, have an announcement and say, "Hey, we're not alone." I think that we're getting very close to that day. I agree with Stephen Bassett. I think probably all 3 of us here think that we're pretty close to getting to that day. How what do you think for the people listening? Should we have any sort of fear about any sort of narratives or things that we were going to see from the disclosure movement surrounding aliens or any of the technologies that they may or may not have? Should we be fearful or welcoming of this?
I would definitely welcome any form of disclosure, even if the government posts the ETs as a threat,
Right.
because a lot of my colleagues are still sleeping. They don't believe in anything they cannot see.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I really want some kind of disclosure from the government, but at the same time also working on this grassroots level movement in waking people up in to knowing more about the realities, about the purpose of life, about how they should really be more spiritual by following the teaching of Christ or other manners or through other means. I think it's very important for people to have more knowledge in order to make the right decisions in the future. And I do think, I do hope that it's going to come, the disclosure is going to come this summer. And that's actually my wish.
Hmm.
Because the book, Thiaoouba Prophecy, will be published in May of 2026.
Amen.
So your
Well,
book's come out the same month as mine. Let me ask you this question. It's come out May. The movie's coming out in June. And Stephen Bassett just blew my mind. He said that there's been a release out of England that the president of the United States is going to make full disclosure that we're not alone on July the 8th, 2026. Have you heard that, Samuel?
I've heard of that, yes.
And what's that based on? Is that based on communication with them? Or who is it? Who got this? Who told who the date?
I have no idea who got the information, but I think when it happens, it's probably going to cause a lot of excitement in the
well,
world.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
well, and then I think what's going to happen is there's going to be a debate on the narrative. Okay, we're not alone. Well, who are they, and how does that fit into the belief system of the human race?
Mm.
And how would you got to know that's going to be a part of the debate, right? I mean, unless the president says they're here and he walks one out, okay, and they start talking to us. I mean,
Ooh.
so
Yeah. Well, yeah, actually,
disclosure. What do we mean? Are we going to see anything? Are we going to bring some
yeah.
crafts that crashed? Are we going to show some biologics that we have found? Or do we just take the president's word for it because he's sitting behind the Oval Office desk? I mean, so how's that going to work?
Well, I'm sorry, Sam. Let me jump in real fast. I just want to add to that too, though, because you had mentioned about your colleagues, and a lot of people aren't convinced of something until they can see it.
Right.
So, does disclosure also just look like like Pastor had just mentioned, the president is just talking, or is there open disclosure where it says, "Hey, here we go," and here's one of the leaders of the extraterrestrial civilization?
I don't think they're going to have an ET show up on camera. They're just probably going to say when there's disclosure that we are not alone, and it's going to open up a lot of questions and answers. Especially the religious organizations are going to be asked about how it's going to work or work out with within religions.
Narrative. Yeah.
Yeah, narratives, and not just Christianity, but also other religions too. And I think the most important thing for us to do is to really do our best to let people become aware of the potentials in the future.
Could
the potential that we all can become like Christ.
Yes. I mean, is it possible that the Muslims are going to say this is the Mahdi? Are the Christians going to say this is the Antichrist? Is the Buddhist going to say this is a new prophet? Is the Hindus going to say it's a reincarnation? I mean, will there still be this continual debate among religions on who the ETs are, or will this be resolved?
There are going to be ongoing debates and probably going to have a lot of conflicts due to the disclosure. And I foresee that unless people have the knowledge, they're going to be in constant or constant confusion of who the ETs are. is going to be very interesting.
Yeah. But you keep going back to the fact that ultimately everyone needs to understand the teachings of Jesus Christ. That if you understand his teachings, if you read the red letters in the Bible, in the text, and understand his philosophy of how we should treat one another, and it comes right down that it's how you treat one another. Okay, you can't be mean to each other and then say you love God. I mean, you got to treat one another in appropriate ways. That way, you can also say that you love God also, and that God loves you. So, do you keep coming back to that, and I'm glad you do, because ultimately that is the gospel. And it's interesting that the man who received the Thiaoouba prophecy, that even though there's stuff out there that when a person reads that is going to say, whoa, that's way out there. But it does keep coming back to the teachings of Christ. And I find that fascinating. And did that help lead you to the gospel of Jesus Christ? I mean, how did you find Jesus Christ?
Well, in the very beginning, I went to the church in Los Angeles and believed nothing about the scriptures or the Bible, because the people in my church were they were not really nice. I mean, in the sense that they preached about hatred, that everyone needed to go to will go to hell if they don't believe in every word that the pastor spoke. So there's a fundamentalist church in Los Angeles.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. That's too strong. All right, so so what happened then? So in other words, they were preaching works and not faith.
Right. So I believed nothing in the Bible for a long period of time. I believed that they were hypocrites. But then after reading the book Thiaoouba Prophecy, I realized that what really Christ taught was about love and about spirituality. And that's actually, that also explains a lot of the things that I was puzzled about. The pyramid, the Bermuda Triangle, ghosts, and also money, and some of the human energy fields like auras, and the acupuncture, how acupuncture works. And a lot of things are explained in the book. And then it talks about what really happened in the past, as documented in the Old Testament, New Testament of the Bible, that everything made perfect sense to me. So I began to realize that we should follow the 10 Commandments of Moses and also the teaching of Christ. And then I just reread the entire Bible from cover to cover, and realized that yes, we should really follow the teaching of Christ and take the red letters in a very serious manner, and to really pray and to look inside and for answers. We should not necessarily follow the specific teachings of a pastor, especially the fundamentalists, and we should really look inside for answers.
All right, that's the truth right there.
Yeah, I like it. Well, so let me ask Samuel. July 8th, is it going to happen? We're going to get disclosure that day or no?
I don't know. I can only say I hope it happens.
We'll see, right?
We will see.
We'll see.
I feel like that's too that's too pinpointed. I don't know. It's all about timing, honestly. Pastor, do you have anything else?
I just think that it's very fascinating. I love Samuel's approach. He's always about love. He's always about treating people with goodness, following the teachings of Christ, and that people from many different cultures of the world, that God's grace will find them one way or another, even if it has to come from different paths to get to them. I know that in Iran right now, they say that about 1 million Iranians have had dreams that Jesus Christ has come to them and said, I am the true Messiah. Believe on me. And these are, so there was, because they had to have some way, if you have no access to the gospel. And I understand. And so there's a revival in Iran. And even though it's a regime that's ruling them, that's, would kill the infidels, and they do. Or if you're in North Korea, where there's no access at all to the word of God, and yet there's a movement underground among the North Koreans and the Chinese as well, and other parts of the world. So God's mercy and grace and kindness will get to people. And I think that's what I'm learning from Samuel is there's God's love is everywhere. If you are looking for it, if you look for it, you'll find it. It's there. And so I appreciate that greatly. I really do, Samuel.
Thank you.
So in closing, I just want to say, Samuel, thank you again for joining us, and helping us navigate one of the most fascinating and complex topics of our time. Our conversations around alien disclosure continue to accelerate. Voices like yours help ground these discussions in history, faith, and thoughtful reflection, as well as introducing people to the Thiaoouba Prophecy by Michel de Marquet. For those of you who want to explore more of Samuel's work and revisit our previous conversation, you can find everything linked at paulbegleypodcast.com/guest/Samuel Chong. Samuel, it's always a pleasure, and we appreciate your willingness to engage with these questions with clarity and humility. And God bless you, and it was great to see you again.
Same here. Thank you.
Great to see you, Samuel. Thank you for being our guest. God bless.